Today we're at Dartmoor National Park. Hi conservation crew, and welcome to another episode of Nature Diaries. Today we are at the Dartmoor National Park and we're at a place called Dartmeet. So it's where I'm assuming a stream meets the River Dart. So we're going to go and explore, because my brother-in-law told us last night that if you go in the opposite direction to where all the tourists go generally, there's a beautiful kind of untouched patch of nature that looks very much like Canada or something. It's very wild. So we're going to try and work out where that is and just go for a little stroll really. So the patch of land that we're on now is actually managed by the Devon Wildlife Trust, and there was a sign saying that there's otters. So we're hoping that we're going to see one, but we've been looking on, there's lots of rocks and boulders around here, and we're walking right by the river, and we keep looking on top of rocks hoping to see some scat, because otters are very territorial and they will essentially poo on rocks to allocate their territory and let other otters know that this bit's theirs essentially. So we're having a really good look-see, haven't found any yet. So we're actually seeing a lot of wildlife on this walk. When we were still back at the van, we saw a greater spotted woodpecker using a bird feeder that someone had put out in the car park, and we also see a variety of songbirds like great tits, things like that, and we've seen a few dippers on the river. So they're like a black and a white bird, and they dip in and out of the water. So that's been good, but we're praying for some otter action, because that would just be amazing really, wouldn't it? So in just a matter of meters we've gone from quite strong rapids over there to a place of calm and tranquility.
When you're walking along riverbanks, you sometimes come across patches of sand or dirt a bit similar to this one, and these are always great places to actually look for animal footprints. Now 9 times out of 10 it will be the domestic dog you come across, but occasionally you'll see stuff like otters, badgers and deer and anything else what comes down to the river to drink as well. Like Laura said, there's some signs about otters being on this stretch of the river, and it really does seem quite a suitable habitat for them. Now otters obviously are nocturnal, you see more at night time or early morning, but we're just going to sit on this quiet stretch of river to see if we can see any. So the river's actually flowing much slower at this area, which means that it would be a good place for fish to shelter in some of the deeper pools. So obviously the otters will come in and try and catch the fish. So it's a low probability that we'll see them, but when we're out in nature, sometimes it's nice just to sit for 5 minutes, sort of reflect, and if you do see one of our native mustelids pop up, and then it's just a bonus really. So fingers crossed, and let's see what happens. So Laura mentioned we've seen quite a lot of wildlife today, but it's all the small stuff. So there's again a distinct absence of large animals, and especially in the UK there's a distinct absence of megafauna. So if you think the largest land mammal in the UK is the red deer, but it's very unusual to have a large herbivore with no actual predators to keep it under control. So we have to control it by shooting them or protecting trees or erecting deer fences and so forth. But if you just think, if we go back, you think about the lynx and the wolves, I'm just trying not to fall in, the lynx and the wolves we had in the country. So there was a large megafauna, but we need to think further than that. So we're talking about bringing lynx back, bringing wolves back, but in the UK we used to have such a megafauna that it included stuff like elephants and rhinoceros, but also cave hyenas and big cats. And all these things we sort of forgot about now are confined to history. And there's more and more research suggesting that actually humans led to their demise as well. So it's important when we think about wildlife and conservation of nature, you know, we're not just thinking about the species we have now, but we're thinking about the ecosystem in an historical context and try and restore it as best we can. Now, many of the species lost are gone forever, unless you think of some of the Jurassic Park type stories with mammoths and so on, where there might be potential to bring them back. But there are some species, brown bears, wild boar, beavers, lynx and potentially wolves, which could really change the ecosystem in the UK.
We're turning around because it's getting a bit treacherous, and we don't want to fall over and break our necks. But it's a really lovely riverside walk here. It's very peaceful. We've barely seen anyone, because I think if you go in the opposite direction to what we've gone is like the popular touristy walk, but we've gone the other way for a bit more of a wild experience. We've arrived back at the car park and we're back at the old van, and I just want to try and see if I can get some footage of some of these songbirds. Looks like a bullfinch female or a chaffinch. Just saw that greater spotted woodpecker again, but I haven't got a good camera with me today, so I'm having a bit of a struggle trying to get some footage of it. I think it's time for a coffee.